Hi and welcome everyone. Great to have you here with us on this SAP community call right after SAP TechEd. My name is Menina Chow. I'm part of the SAP community team, and I'm very excited to have with us two speakers that if you have participated and attended SAP TechEd, two speakers with us that you should be familiar with. So one is Michael Ameling. He is SVP and head of the SVP head of Intelligent Enterprise and BTP Foundation. And with him is Philipp Herzig, who is head of the Intelligent Enterprise and Cross Architecture. Now, if you remember, we also had a call in last summer where we had two colleagues joining to talk also about the integration enterprise, how they were delivering the intelligent enterprise, the promise on intelligent sustainable enterprise powered by SAP Business Technology Platform. So we had this happening last summer with two colleagues, Philipp and Stefan Peach. And now that SAP TechEd is over, we have the executives with us to share the integration highlights. Yeah, who of you has joined SAP TechEd? Let us know in chat if you have any questions up front, anything that you would like to hear from Michael and Philipp. This is your chance to really get your questions addressed. And yeah, without further ado, I would say let's kick it off and hear from Michael and Philipp themselves, who will provide an overview of the highlights and are eager to answer your questions later on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Menina. Yeah, and also warm welcome from my side. So indeed, TechEd is over, and I can say it was a very great event in a, let's say, hybrid experience. Philipp and I had the honor to be on site. We received a lot of positive feedback, but not only on site, but also whoever attended virtually. So from analysts, customers, partners. And we would like to start the session with a short recap from, let's say, the keynote. Secondly, jump also into the business application updates and then dive a little bit deeper into our integration updates, and where we kept the promise on delivering on integration. But first, before I start, I also want to say a big thank you. I think Jürgen outlined it's key that we have our SAP community involved. We have more than 15,000 customers on business technology platform. And without the SAP community, we wouldn't have this tremendous success. So therefore, also a big thank you also here into the SAP community. Now, let me start with a short recap from the keynote in the beginning, which was about the business technology platform. And the business technology platform is divided in 5 pillars, as Jürgen outlined, from application development automation up to artificial intelligence. And I want to highlight shortly a few announcements which we did so that you also get a very quick overview in addition to the keynotes, which of course I encourage to watch. So the first one is, and we have the two paradigms of low-code and also pro-code development. So with on the low-code side, we launched SAP Build, which provides a unified low-code experience for unleash the expertise actually of you and of course the business users. It's an easy to build powerful. It's an easy manner to build powerful web applications, mobile applications, and the like. And SAP Build is divided into 3 basically major products. The first one is SAP Build Process Automation as a basically successor of SAP Process Automation with deep integration into SAP Signavio. The second one is SAP Build Apps. You can consider that's the next version of AppGyver, including even features like visual cloud functions to create business logic and the data models. And the third one of SAP Build is SAP Build Workzone. And this brings together SAP Launchpad and also SAP Workzone. We are aware that there have been some confusion and we wanted to provide a unified experience here. And I can encourage you that you also get familiar with SAP Build. So you can start already today with the free tier version, which we provide. Now, this was on the low code, also on the pro code developer side. I think you might have heard that we launched ABAP Cloud. Since let's say extension and delivering upgrades, stable extensions is key, especially to have smooth S/4HANA upgrades and what have you. Some of you know it already under the codename Steampunk, especially on the partner side. And as I said, our cloud is now released for S/4HANA Cloud, for S/4HANA on-premise, 2022 onwards. Yeah, also here, I think you can also look into the according programming model, so the ABAP RESTful application model, so RAP. It's the same, of course, we launched CAP, so a cloud application program model, so for the Java and JavaScript developers. I think here one highlight I want to emphasize is the improved capabilities for multi-tenancy extensions. Here you can see also a very great customized example in the Keynote. And the best thing, of course, that you can combine it. So the ABAP and also the CAP, they can be easily connected. On the integration side, and I think it's fair to say that integration is key. This is also the core topic of our call here today. So whenever it comes to third-party integration, so we have an openness strategy. The integration suite is here the answer for enterprise-grade integration capabilities. It's even now ranked again as a leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for enterprise integration platforms as a service. And Philipp and I will talk more then later on about SAP to SAP integration. So whenever it comes to SAP to third party, that's where integration suite comes into play. And of course, for SAP to SAP integration, we also have done a lot on that side, especially when it comes also now into hybrid environments. So where we have not cloud only, we can acknowledge that 95 or even more of the customers living in a hybrid environment is on-premise and cloud. And this is, of course, which we focused on. And also here on the integration suite side, we have an update. So especially to cover also on-premise scenarios, we will deliver the Edge integration cell, which basically allows you to have a process integration and event integration in on-premise scenarios. On data analytics side, here also a nice question was about data-driven decisions. So you can also think if you and your company do really data-driven decisions. And of course, we have according tooling here. It starts, of course, with SAP HANA Cloud, which provides or basically allows the single data foundation with all security standards, encryption, user management, what have you. Even some highlights we have here that we support now MongoDB's wired protocol, that we have a flexible core memory ratio approach, which allows you to lower the TCO. And on analytics side, so when it comes to that story, we launched SAC Unified Story, also bringing a new user experience into SAP Analytics Cloud with basically simply drag and drop features to build your story in an easy manner, also with no-code features. And of course, in addition, when it's about data and data-driven decisions, we also have some enhancement when it comes to extended planning and analysis. And the last thing I want to highlight here also is on the one hand, from the feature side, I said that we received very great feedback on the strategy and where we go. But one thing which we really need to extend is, of course, the knowledge around business technology platform and everything around. So this is why we also are happy that we were able to announce that SAP partnered with Coursera. So this is where basically SAP technology consultants are now able to get certifications to kickstart, for example, with ABAP cloud trainings and what have you. So if you're interested, you can immediately start even on learning.sap.com. So this was a quick wrap up on, let's say, on the business technology platform side. But of course, this goes hand in hand with our applications. Therefore, let me hand over to Philipp to give us an update on the highlights on the business application side. Philipp, over to you.
Thank you so much, Michael, and also a warm welcome from my side to this community call, and also then looking later to your questions. But let's also briefly recap what has happened on day 2 of the TechEd as well. And actually, the whole day started with the first ever business application keynote. So it was the first time that we also did that after in the past, right? It was a just one keynote, and this time we decided specifically to divide it into both the technology updates primarily, but then secondly, on the second day, really focus on how we are bringing our SAP applications first closer together overall from a business process perspective, but then for sure also how we do it through the BTP, right? Because the BTP is our integration platform to bring our applications in SAP closer together, as well as third-party applications. And then, of course, also show how the BTP can be used to actually extend our solutions easily. Yeah, whenever you require certain extensions, extensibility in S/4HANA, in a Service Cloud, in Sales Cloud, in Ariba, SuccessFactors, and more, to really bring this closer here together as well. And what we basically showed, and you see some highlights here that were mentioned. Yeah, we have, for example, as it relates also to integration, introduced an all-new central entry point for the business user. With SAP Start, we had already SAP Mobile Start. That was released last year for a mobile version, in all-new mobile application, but we released it also now as beta, generally available next year, and a web-based version where business users actually get a unified experience that blends over our solutions, such as S/4HANA, SuccessFactors, and Fieldglass, which are part of the first scope now for a scenario that we call total workforce management, so that a business user can really seamlessly navigate across SAP S/4HANA, SuccessFactors, and contingent workers through Fieldglass. We also talked about a buying 360 in the procurement area, which is specifically has been built on the BTP as a new product with an all-new experience to allow indirect procurement. And we also introduced on top of that, showed the process from the order over the delivery in the digital supply chain with warehouse, introducing also new mobile applications with the new Ariba shopping app, for example, SAP Warehouse Operator. And then, of course, also looking towards S/4HANA, for example, there was a lot of focus, of course, with the SAP Build announcement around low-code, no-code. But we had low-code, no-code in SAP S/4HANA already for at least the last 5 to 6 years, inside SAP S/4HANA to change UIs and so on. But what was always missing so far in the public cloud was also to write really powerful custom code. And that is what we also now have introduced with ABAP Cloud within SAP S/4HANA as a pro code option, so to speak, for those who are longer with SAP. So that actually brings back the good old C namespace and C code into the ABAP in the public cloud as well. But of course, with all the greatness of being in the SaaS world, because this is then upgrade safe and so on, so that we can still update the system every month and while your code is continue to run. And we also showed, because that's also important on integrations, not just integration between SAP, but also new third-party integrations. I've mentioned earlier, we showed new integration scenarios between Microsoft Teams and SAP S/4HANA. So for just to give one example, it's now possible from any Fiori application in SAP S/4HANA to share what you have just discovered or see with any colleague in the company through Teams. And with the next release in February, we already gave a glimpse on sharing it as a tab, for example. But we also we're very proud to share insights how you can actually now leverage Google Workspace, Google Sheets in particular, to integrate directly with SAP S/4HANA. And there will be also something around document management with Google Docs also coming early next year. And finally, from a customer experience perspective, looking at our front office portfolio with Marsis, with the Service Cloud, with Sales Cloud, Commerce Cloud, and so on. We also showed how we are bringing really together the front office of the company with the back office in S/4HANA, also showing a great demo, for example, how really now in Service Cloud, you can create a service order from S/4HANA and you don't see the difference. And there's also a new integration capability that blends the two worlds, and you can stay within the workflow even though you are working in the front office. And one, I think, theme overall, and that is our you see already throughout the many announcements and demos that we showed, and really look also at the demos to get a good feeling at many demos to highlight exactly what I just talk about more theoretically here now, is that really how we ensure a consistent user experience with our all new Fiori Horizon design language. So that this is really possible from a user experience perspective, right? So that the lines between all the various solutions that we have from SAP really get blurry for the end user, right? So that it's not like separate experiences anymore, but really are coming together as one experience and a seamless user experience across the intelligent enterprise and the suite. And not only for us as SAP, but also that is the good thing. We showed, for example, how you can actually do this yourself, because we updated all our UI technology, both the mobile technologies that SAP provides, like our iOS and Android SDKs, as well as our web technologies like UI5, UI5 Web Components, and others, to also help you to create your custom apps, both mobile as well as web, with this new user experience, so that also your custom applications benefit from the seamless user experience when being embedded with the SAP applications as well. Now, we will now focus on a few updates also with respect to integration, right? Because that's, of course, also our main role, right? What we're doing with respect to integration and intelligent enterprise. And we believe integration is really the foundation for insightful end-to-end business processes. And we were very excited also in the second day keynote to share some updates with respect to our integration journey, because again, it's also really a journey and not just a one-off that we do once and then it's solved, but it's something it's a continuous thing where we are innovating with every quarter and releasing new things. And one thing that is, of course, guiding us are our end-to-end business processes, right? Recruit to retire, lead to cash, and the others. And the good thing is really that we are meanwhile in a state where all those end-to-end processes are integrated end-to-end in an out-of-the-box fashion. So it's now really up to customers adopting the latest, also adopting the BTP to benefit from that. Just to give you one example, and we iterated on that also more in the keynote, I just do it quickly here. Recruit to retire, for example, right? Recruit to retire is the end-to-end process from planning your workforce, staffing, hiring people, onboarding them, staffing them to the right projects, and then for sure pay them accordingly. And those aspects are meanwhile end-to-end integrated, but with BTP, right? And in order to benefit also from some of the advancements, adoption of the BTP is absolutely necessary in order then to also benefit from many of the technical advancements we have created in order to make that easier. Things like identity management, one domain model, and other aspects. Further example, and what you also basically see here is that is also not just theory. So here you see, and we shared also some examples then throughout then day 2 of TechEd, is how customers are really benefiting from our integration journey, and also the things that we are investing in. So for example, Mod Pizza, who is hiring 1,000 hires every month, actually is now saving, with just based on the integration that's now been built, a lot of manual labor per week to actually deal with those many hires and what could go potentially wrong. Topcon, for example, you see how they improved their monthly closing, for example, or were able to actually automate their sales order process much more thanks to the integration also between our CX suite, our CX suite and S/4HANA, and of course Froster, who is, for example, is a German a food company adopting a central entry point like Mobile Start, for example, that helps them really to achieve great business outcomes here as well. So these are just a few of the highlights. And of course, everything what we are just saying here, right, is not just limited to SAP applications, but also many of the third-party applications that Michael spoke to earlier. Does this mean that we are done with integration? No, we are not done, right? It is a journey. So while we have been focusing heavily on getting our applications closer together through BTP and those end-to-end processes, we are now integrating actually also across the processes, right? For example, customers ask us, can you integrate our digital manufacturing cloud with SAP SuccessFactors or with our new solution for project management? And this is exactly what we are doing now. We are rather now integrating across the processes or make them more specific towards a certain industry, for example, and many, many more things are coming from there. Let's also talk about a great new innovation. I already talked about this in the summary, which is SAP Start. Yeah, so this is actually a feedback that we heard for many, many years, that customers really want to have this kind of central entry point to the business applications to make this really, really simple. And it is what Michael already said. It is based on WorkZone, but we really made it as simple as possible for the business user, so to speak, so that you really can get an end-to-end view with search, with a digital assistant, with so-called interest cards. The task center, Michael will speak quickly probably speak to that one in a minute, to really bring this together in one place so that customers have really, and end users have an easy life to find all the information of the business from a single place, while at the same time, they can also, of course, extend that. So WorkZone then is the technology foundation, right? As Michael described, bringing our Fiori Launchpad together with WorkZone is then actually useful to say, hey, if there's anything I cannot find on this page, a custom widget, a third-party application, maybe a custom application you've built with our great tools and technologies, that you can then also integrate it with this Launchpad and enrich the experience for your business users through SAP built WorkZone. And we showed this also in the keynote to give you a glimpse on how that would work. We are very proud that SAP Start is now in beta. You can all register for that. And then it's going to be generally available next year. And just to conclude here also, because we also had some fantastic updates on the mobile version of it. So SAP Start for the web is brand new. We had already the mobile version of it for a year, right? Where you have exactly the same content, so to speak, just in a native application, so not a web application, it's a native application, where, for example, notifications would then directly appear on your smartphone's screen. We leverage it for KPIs and for business insights with widgets, for example, that you can expose. Then the search, you don't have to open the app, but search is integrated on your phone search to find all the various applications. You can use voice commands to actually use the digital assistant, because mobile you typically use, right, when you cannot type anything. And then, of course, because it was always a big ask, because we released it a year ago for iOS, for the iOS platform. We also, meanwhile, are very happy that there's an Android version with exactly the same scope. So that is also, meanwhile, feature parity. Good. So from that perspective, that concludes some updates that we also showed throughout the application keynote. If you have not watched it, I can only recommend it to you. And with this, also would like to hand it over, Michael, to you to give us a summary on progress of the so-called suite qualities.
Yeah, thank you, Philipp. Yeah, and that's when I think you have seen a lot of updates now from the functional perspective. And I think with SAP Start, this gave already a glimpse into what we are doing on a seamless user experience, also paying into one of the suite qualities. Just as a short recap, so we had 7 suite qualities, which we said from the beginning on as basically our focus on when it comes to integration. So topics like the unified user experience, that we have aligned domain model, what Philipp just shortly talked about, so that we speak the same language when it comes to business objects across a different application. Also about embedding analytics, for example, consistently across the applications. And one thing I want to pick for now is SAP Task Center. Philipp just mentioned this already in the context of SAP Start, where we build it in also with an, let's say, native user experience, so that you can leverage all tasks which are basically heading towards you. So, for example, if I'm a manager, yeah, and if you are basically also a person which needs to deal with tasks continuously, maybe a vacation request, maybe a purchase order, whatever, there are always approvals and menu actions behind. Currently, it was basically distributed across different applications, and we said this cannot be in terms of an end user perspective. We wanted to have one single entry point where you can go to. We call this one workflow inbox, or now recently launched as SAP Task Center. So this is a web application what Philipp talked about, and also on the mobile we provide that. But there's much more. This is just a tipping point on the iceberg. So if you if you have this also from your experience perspective, this is what you see as an end result. But let me also give you some insights into what this means in our integration promise. We have integrated this now with S4HANA, S4HANA Cloud, the private edition, with SuccessFactors, Fieldglass, Ariba, Concur, and also SAP build process automation and what have you. But why was this possible? This was possible because we aligned on one model, so that the SAP task, this entity, is basically the same language across the different applications. We aligned on the security. If you're an end user, you want to have a single sign-on experience, which means we need to have, or at least are integrated into the same identity systems across the different applications. Here, it also means that in case you want to have more details and you want to jump to the local inbox, that you need to have mechanisms like principal propagation, yeah, that your users basically distributed also to that system, that you don't need to log in and again, and. Yeah. So these are, let's say, the suite qualities, which we also leveraged. Yeah, we built in service on business technology platform, so the inbox service, so technical means. And then even this gives us a capability to be, let's say, add even further capabilities in future. So what you see now here is integration in the systems which we did so far. But at the same time, we also address from the beginning on that we can integrate other systems. So if you have a third-party system, in future, you will be also able to integrate this into the inbox service and then have the same user experience in our SAP Task Center, natively on mobile and, of course, in the web application. I hope this gives you a little bit insights into what it means to deliver the suite qualities and why we are stating that we kept the promise in order to deliver that. But at the same time, as Philipp outlined, this is just the beginning, and we will continue, of course, these efforts and deliver more and more capabilities step by step to deliver the intelligent, sustainable enterprise. Earlier, I mentioned a little bit that we also focused on the hybrid scenarios, so especially when it comes to integration of on-premise solutions. Philipp already gave some highlights here in terms of customers where we delivered on topics like recruit to retire with Aramco, or where we had the use of one domain model, where we even have been released now in one domain model identifier, which allows us to integrate also on-premise system, so that you can benefit from this integrations work, of course, as soon as possible, even with your system. At the same time, of course, if you want to benefit from all the integration works, of course, we also have one ask to you that you upgrade to the latest system, so that you can benefit from this one as well. Two things I mentioned already here, also on the integration side with the Edge Integration Cell, which we launched. And one thing I also want to mention is, especially for the master data integration. So here we even have an adapter for the integration speed, so that you can also benefit here from the integration work, which we did on SAP to SAP side. In a nutshell, of course, this is the majority is here that we focus on, let's say, the reality scenarios which we have on the customer side. So we heard your feedback. Thanks a lot also for that one. And this is why we focus so deeply on the hybrid integration as well. Now, let me come to the next topic. And if you can switch to the next slide. So where can you find all this information? So the first point I want to address you to is our SAP API Business Hub, because one of the suite qualities is also that we have let's say description of what it means and what you need to become an intelligent, sustainable enterprise. So across all the different processes like D2Cash, source to pay, design to operate, what Philipp mentioned, you will find, as you see it here on the screen, you will find basically the description, the architecture diagram, what it needs to become and implement such processes. This is as well for cloud-only scenarios, but also for hybrid scenarios. And these are even interactive diagrams. So you can even find where do we have predefined workflows or integration workflows that you can make use of, which APIs you are using. And even also here to go next step, you see also here continuous improvement. So we have now 3,400 APIs documented on the API Business Hub. So everything in one hand. So not only, let's say, the diagrams, what it means to implement such end-to-end business process, but also which APIs do you need? What can you integrate basically also in your scenarios? And it even comes with, I said already, the reference business processes, but at the same time, we also have a lot of integration flows added. So when it comes to hybrid scenarios, what is not listed here, and I always encourage that we are focusing on this openness factor as well. So there are even more than 200 connectors, which allows you to integrate with third-party systems as well. So in a nutshell, also here, I can highlight that you have a look at the api.sap.com, so that you can get a glimpse on what it means to adopt one of these processes. Here, a short summary on the highlights of the TechEd overall. I think we gave a short picture on where we made progress in terms of integration, where we made progress across our suite qualities from the non-functional perspective, but at the same time, also from the functional perspective. So if you look into the Roadmap Explorer of SAP, you will find also a lot of deliveries which we have done across these end-to-end business processes. With that, we are actually almost through. And first of all, big thanks for attending the session. We are looking forward to the question. But before we start the question, I want to give also some, let's say, at least three takeaways with you, or even better, something which you can look into. I just shared the API Business Hub, so the entry point for API documentation, the end-to-end business processes. But if you want to get your hands dirty, and try it really out, I would like to point you to the Discovery Center. So SAP Discovery Center is basically an entry point where you can find missions along concrete scenarios. So I mentioned earlier the SAP Task Center. So if you look for SAP Task Center in this Discovery Center, you will find dedicated missions, how you can implement the Task Center. So with different applications, and there will be guided, let's say, missions with the prerequisites, how to set up the system, and this along plenty of integration scenarios where we have made progress. And of course, I mentioned also in the beginning that there are trial options, so you can make also use of free trial of SAP Business Technology Platform here and try out the end-to-end use cases. Secondly, what I want to mention is the integration strategy paper. So we launched this in the beginning of 2020. This was our integration promise. We are doing also here continuous updates. And what you find here is also the latest highlights on our deliveries of 2022. From a functional perspective, you find some customer scenarios and even also some value stories behind. So what it means in order to become an intelligent, sustainable enterprise. Also, what is the context in terms of RISE and updates on the integration suite. So this is one paper I would like to highlight here as well. So have a look at the integration strategy paper. And last but not least, since we are also here in the SAP community, we also have our topic page related to integration. So also here, this should be your first address, and then you find also the different assets which I just mentioned. So like the integration strategy paper linked and what have you. So please also have a look here at our SAP community page for our SAP integration strategy. And with that, we are done. First of all, big thanks for your attendance. And I think then let's jump over into the questions, Menina.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Philip. Really, on behalf of the SAP community, really appreciate your precious time spent with us now after TechEd, where we are sure you are quite busy, and providing this great overview of integration highlights. Now, we are open for questions from the audience, and I would say let's take it from the top on the appearance of the questions that appeared in chat. So there was one question from someone. I hope this person joined this live stream, because the question was posted before the live stream started. I think this was a great overview, and hopefully should not leave with too many questions. But let me recap on that question and see how you want to respond to that one. The question is, we've been hearing about integration and the intelligent enterprise for years now. What is really new now? Why would it make sense to put effort in learning more about it, and what's the value?
Yeah, that's, maybe I start, Michael, you can add. So that's a simple one, right? I think we just showed some of the progress that we've made. I think what is important, that we are talking about this topic, of course, for quite some time. That is absolutely right. But of course, it is a strategy in the first place. And that strategy means it is a direction where we are going. That means, and this is all about bringing our applications, first of all, closer together, in particular between our core applications that SAP always was very successful for, but also the ones that we've acquired over the years, right? And I think we've made some great progress. But is that something you do like in a year or two? No, it is a multi-year journey, right? This is also why it is a strategy and not just a one-off that we are doing, but really something where we are now step by step improving. And you see things like Task Center, for example, example, is just one of those things. We worked on that for quite a while, but if you see now how many of the business applications are meanwhile connected and also providing content, more than 90 standard workflows across the suite, this is exactly some of the progress. And for sure, with every quarter next year, we have more workflows on this and more one domain models and more applications even who have adopted it, maybe smaller ones that we have. So that is step by step really a journey, and we are continuing that, right? It's a strategy. We're not stopping it. It's not done. It's not right. We achieved a lot, but it's not done. So we are continuing on this journey, and with every quarter, Michael mentioned Roadmap Explorer. If you would like to learn what we are working on, what are the next scenarios, what are the next integration points, the next business capabilities that we are enabling through integration, look at the Roadmap Explorer. There you can select, for example, the end-to-end business scenario and then see what's going to come. And so this informs a little bit on where we are today, but also where we are going. And then for sure, whether you should learn about this, yes, you should absolutely do. Because I mean, what we also spoke to at TechEd a lot is that there is enablement, a huge demand for enablement and training. We discussed this across the customer base, across the partner ecosystem, to really get exposed to that. And then in order to further enable either inside your IT department, for example, or further customers if you are a partner, I think the time to learn about what is there is now. The last question was about the benefits. Yeah, the benefits, I mean, are all about making integration in particular even simpler, right? Because I think we take one domain model, for example, for sure you can integrate in multiple ways, but all those ways that you can integrate with require a lot of effort. They are error prone. There's a lot of work, mappings you need to do, right? And whatever sophisticated middleware. But our strategy also entails that we make this integration between the applications also simpler. One domain model is, for example, such a thing where we say we're changing actually our applications so that there's no mapping required anymore between our applications because these applications speak the same language and there's no translator necessary anymore in between. And this is why you should expose yourself to the new models, to the new domain models, to the new middlewares we're also introducing, because we believe they make the integration live also for customers in their IT much, much simpler.
Beautiful answer. Thank you, Philipp. And so everyone watching, you heard it, you can expect even more. Make sure to go to the SAP Integration Strategy community page, click on follow to not miss the updates that are coming. All right, let's move to the next question. So one question from the chat audience here. You referred to the major business processes. Are you also considering what other business processes?
If you like, I can also pick that one. So two answers to this question. Yes, we consider also other processes. So what we are first of all focusing with the major processes is really to integrate across the products that we are having. For sure, there are more business processes that are also happening within the products. Take S/4HANA, for example, a standard process like record to report, for example, or order to cash. Or, for example, forecast to delivery. Those are, of course, also business processes that do work in S/4HANA for years already, and they continue to work. And of course, we also further improve those record to report, for example, to automate this process more, requiring less manual data entry and stuff like this. So those things for sure we're also going to, right? They were never away, so to speak, right? The major processes are more guiding us end to end along the various products that SAP has, and where rightfully we have to provide this a very good level of integration. That's number one. And number two, what we're also doing is we are verticalizing now processes. So we are now also looking into, so far it was more like the general functionality, take recruit to hire to retire, right? SuccessFactors, SAP S/4HANA integration, but we're also now verticalizing it for public sector, for example, where objects are now introduced like grants and funds, for example, that you require in public sector, where we make it more specific to professional services to make, for example, timesheet entry much better in the entire recruit. So there's always lots of things we are continuing there to make it more specific or more tailored to the needs in those processes for the various industries also that we're focusing on for the public cloud. So, and this is actually then here also the focus.
Great. All right, let's see. Guys, everyone watching here, it's your last chance to get your question addressed with Michael and Philip. Well, if you still need to digest and consume all the great content that you just heard, I highly recommend to then go to the community and ask your question anytime that you have them. Our experts will be there to answer them. Now, yeah, let's talk about upskilling. Maybe any recommendations, further trainings? Are there any further trainings available specifically around the intelligent enterprise?
Yeah, maybe I take that one. Yeah, and maybe first to recap a little bit also on the other question. Yeah, of course, feedback is key here, right? And this is even how we started to form the strategy where we need to focus on, even on the suite qualities. Yeah, this was based on your feedback from customers, partners, and the likes. This is where we focus on. Same, of course, on the end-to-end business processes. Yeah, and this will further evolve. Yeah, so we take even the hard topics here, yeah, and solve them. As Philipp said, it's a multi-year journey. And at the same time, you know, we encourage, of course, that we share that you consume the content which we delivered. Yeah? So this is also, as I said it earlier, you also need to upgrade to the latest system, make yourself familiar with the latest content which released. I shared about the topic of Coursera, so that we now partnered with Coursera, where you can get certifications as an SAP technology consultant. And actually happy to announce that pretty soon, we will open even a new Open SAP course. Yeah, so this is we launched already one last year on the integration, or let's say intelligent enterprise strategy. The first course known was even 2020, I think. And the next one is next quarter. We will release an updated Open SAP course where you see a lot of the content which we released along our end-to-end business processes across also the let's say suite qualities, how you can make, for example, again, use of SAP Task Center and what have you, where you can consume the content. And here, actually, I encourage also to use this one. So stay tuned for the upcoming Open SAP course, which we will launch soon.
Perfect. Yeah, everyone stay excited. Just posted a few of the links in chat. Hopefully yeah.
And please, as a
Michael,
reminder, I mean, we shared this assets also here. I mean, we have the API Business Hub. Yeah, this is where you find the information, yeah, on the end-to-end business processes, reference architectures. Please have a look at our community page, yeah, on integration. The integration strategy paper is a must read. Yeah, and we even have additional content like there is a CIO guide, yeah, for an integration strategy, because as a company, it's not as easy. So what is my integration strategy when it comes to A2A, B2P integration, yeah, application to system integration and what have you. So also here we provided a CIO guide on integration. And even furthermore, there's a methodology behind, yeah, so integration solution advisory methodology, yeah, where you can, which also helps you in terms of integration strategy. So these are all a lot of good assets. You will find them also on the community page. We will give some deep dives in the Open SAP course and the like. So, but there's a lot of great assets around. So plus, therefore, please don't hesitate to ask us. You know, then we can point you even to the right resource.
Guys, you heard it. So you know what to do. With that, let me shout out again a big thank you for everyone watching, everyone joining this call, but also really to our speakers, Michael and Philipp, to taking the time on recapping on the integration highlights. All right. Have a good rest of day. Hope to see you all soon in one of the next community calls, and stay safe. Stay tuned. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.